How does one person process grief? Is there like a rule book that we need to follow? Paano ba? This episode is for you. Namaskaram. Namaskaram, namaste, or namaskar is a Hindu greeting that says the light in me sees and acknowledges the light in you, or the God in me sees and acknowledges the God in you. My name is Marky Mendoza, and welcome to Reiki with Marky and yet another meaningful episode here in our YouTube channel. And in today's episode, we are going to be brave enough to discuss a very meaningful topic and just very timely. Just very timely in my life right now. And we're going to be discussing grief. And without further ado, let's go! First of all, I would like to thank my fellow Reiki master, Lay Santa Maria, for giving us this topic to discuss in our Reiki with Marky episode for today. And I'm so happy that my fellow Reiki master has been sharing many topics that we will be sharing. So moving forward, meron pa tayong mga several topics, all contributed by my fellow Reiki master, Lay Santa Maria. And we are dedicating this because this is really something that needs to be discussed. And I'm talking about none other than grief or processing grief. And this is really a very important lesson that we are going to be discussing today, because we are going to show you a different way of understanding grief. And this is a very personal realization for me today, because I really just realized it today. So this is really important for me. Now, when we talk about grief, it's easy to think now when we are going to process grief that we are going to think of regrets, pain, and suffering, the emotions that come with it, the memories that would push you down to your knees, or somehow you'd feel very disappointed, or the what ifs, the shoulda, woulda, couldas would definitely be there. And without batting an eyelash, it's just a painful phase of our life. To a certain extent, losing a loved one. And a couple of months ago, in our social media and Facebooks, we've seen many posts about our social media turning into an actual obituary. And it's really such a depressing time for everybody, especially when here in the Philippines, wherein the surge of the COVID-19 started becoming more alarming than of last year's. And I'm pretty sure, no matter where you're coming from, if you're also here in the Philippines, I'm pretty sure you've been alarmed yourself. And who's to blame, right? This is really a pandemic situation happening. But no matter how things have ended for these people that either we know of, or maybe we directly are related to, no matter how the situation has unfolded, but somehow their time in this lifetime is already done. The borrowed time essentially is already done. And now us who's still here, all there is left to do is to process it. Now, this is one unique way of processing it. I know what an easy go-to is, just to feel the pain, feel the suffering, and feel that there is just so much, to a certain extent, it can be anger and disappointment. And just for today, I realized that we can look at grief in a very different light. Just for today, I realized that when we think of the people who passed on, when we think of people who are very important in our lives, o kaya kahit naman hindi sobrang importante pero naging parte ng buhay natin, they may have been part of it, but not anymore. They may be still part of it, or maybe in the future we feel like, who knows, baka hindi na natin sila kasama sa mga buhay natin because maybe hindi na nag-resonate, maybe we parted ways, maybe it's just not meant to stay that way. Who knows? But one thing is for sure, every single time that you will have your memory and you get to think of these people and the situation, instead of you feeling the pain, just focusing on the pain and the suffering and how the shoulda, woulda, couldas would have reflected in your life, and as you go through this processing time, if there's one thing that I would want you to start recognizing, is that these people, they may have lived their lives, but now they're gone. But when we access these memories, these experiences, I want you to honor them. Honor their roles in your life. They have to be who they have to be so that you will eventually realize what their role is in your life. They have to be who they are simply because they will teach us a lesson. Or maybe who they are, we will realize that they are the blessings in our lives, or the total opposite. But one thing is for sure, they have to be who they have to be so that we can become what we're supposed to be. They have to go through who they are, either they're a blessing or the opposite, para lang we will see the difference. They have to be who they have to be so that we can have a better version of our lives. They have to be who they have to be so that we will get the inspiration from that. And just for today, I realized that deeply because my father passed away today. And what timely na I really have a schedule of this episode to really be airing because naka-line up na talaga siya. But you know, sometimes we feel like there's really no such thing as a coincidence. And today, I decided to honor my father's life. And just to give you a glimpse, my parents separated early on. As early as 7 years old. I was 7 years old, and it was a life full of drama, a life full of pain growing up, a life full of suffering. My life wasn't as amazing as everybody else. And truthfully, when my parents separated, my mom raised us on her own, and she lived a single life for a very long time, trying to give us the best life that we can. And she tried so hard to do this on her own. And it's not easy. And even if they separated, and for a long time, their relationship didn't improve to a certain extent. Hindi na kami nagkita. Hindi namin alam yung whereabouts niya. The last time I saw my father was in 2018. And that was the last time that I saw him. And we honestly don't have the right communication. And what I did during those times is to process everything. Because kaya nga nandito si Reiki with Marky because I've had a very, 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 very challenging past. But I am slowly and surely trying to work my way there to heal myself and to inspire everybody in the process. But it doesn't mean I am bulletproof of life. Na hindi na ako pwedeng masaktan, hindi na ako pwedeng ma-disappoint, hindi na ako pwedeng magalit. That's not the life that maybe others are expecting when you're on a spiritual path. That's a totally different thing. But today, as my father lived a full life, I choose to see that he took a role, that he is so brave to take on this role, na to a certain extent that he will be taken differently, na he will be seen on a different light. And he's okay to take that role so that I can be who I'm meant to be, so that I can inspire other people, and so I can have a better life, and so I can have a life that I will not regret. But I realized that no matter how it unfolded for my father and for our family, he had to be that person so that I can be who I am today. And that is such a brave thing. And so, in grieving, I want you to honor the person who you've lost. I want you to honor that person and tell that person, whether silently or in your prayers, I want you to thank that person and to honor his story and his life, because through that story, you build your own. Through that story, you become better. And that is such a powerful thing. And I may feel like a little too emotional right now, and I don't really want to distort my face in this episode because it's just so embarrassing. But you know what? I would really like to take this opportunity to thank my father, because I wasn't able to thank him enough. And I really just have to celebrate his life, no matter how it unfolded. And his life was full of disappointment, but he has to, it's big shoes to fill. Maybe you will feel like a person living with so much regrets, so much pain, so much anger, maybe so much disappointment. It's not a good life, but now I see it differently. I mean, like right now, I'm pretty sure if you have a better choice to become a better version of yourself versus you just feeling anger, pain, and not doing anything, I'm pretty sure you will not have the guts to do that. There will be people who will, but look at how brave these people are. And I want you listening to this episode, I want you that each time that you would touch on people that you know that already passed on, I want you to start honoring their life, because they have to take on those roles so that they can serve as a huge lesson for everybody. And that in itself is such a brave thing. That in itself is just an amazing blessing. And I've never felt like it's gonna be this kind of blessing until today. Until today. And so I really just have to make this video to honor my father. Because I never really had the chance to do so. But I'm hoping that through this video, he will finally have the chance to tell him that he did a very good job. He did a very good job living his life, teaching us that wonderful blessing, teaching us that blessing. And I'm so sorry if this turns out to be a very emotional video, but pasensya na, please allow me. I can never look at my father's life right now without being grateful. And so I say the same thing for you who is also processing grief right now. I feel you. Who is processing grief right now, take pride on their story and use that as a good lesson, because your story is my story is your story, and this will be an inspiring story soon. And this has been Marky Mendoza. I'm sorry for an emotional video, everybody, but if you do like this episode, it's weird for me to say to give it a good thumbs up. And leave a comment down below if you have any if you have any topics that you'd want Reiki with Marky to discuss in the future. Please leave a comment down below. Now again, I know this has been very emotional ride. I'm sorry it ended up like this. But of course, if you have, by the way, any personal dealings like me, you would need Reiki with Marky's guidance and advice. Naka-flash naman sa screen yung email address namin. Please send us an email if you have your story na kailangan mo ng konting advice. Dadamahin ka ni Reiki with Marky. We'll be sure to be there for you, and we will always honor and respect your identity. Kasi mahalaga matulungan ka namin. This has been Marky Mendoza, na laging nagpapaalala to keep trusting the process. Namaskaram.